Mind of a Geek is brought to you by the new Mind of a Geek t-shirt. Get yours today at tiny.cc/igswag. The following radio program you're about to listen to is provided to you, the listener, by Inked Geek Studios. Get this and other great shows at inkedgeekstudios.com. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of season 4 of Mind of a Geek. I am your host, Nate, and I am joined, as always, by Mr. Brandon. Brandon, how's it going?
I am Brandon.
I am Brandon.
I am.
Yes, you are. How are you?
I am Brandon, as always. So I'm mediocre at best, relaxed.
Right, ready for another...
Disconnected. Yeah.
Dislocated? Disoriented?
No. I'm very, very located.
Ready for another week of Mind of a Geek? I should ask that every week because that rhymes and I like it.
Well, you have to consider, life is pretty short, right? If you think about work.
Relatively.
So you don't really exist for 5 days.
Right.
You have a couple days where you're free to do what you will.
Right.
Right? So I basically live to do Mind of a Geek.
You do.
Discombobulated. Excellent word, Corey. One of my favorite.
Discombobulated.
That's
I
a
like
humdinger of a word.
Anyway, Mind of a Geek is not about us. It is about our guest. And our guest this week from the Zeng This Podcast. I just instinctively want to say the first name because it's just how you introduce someone. But
well, think about it when you say Zeng This and then the name.
Yeah, so it's Zenger from Zeng This. How is it going?
It's going well, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Of course.
Definitely. Hopefully it'll be a fun evening.
I'm sure it will. Thanks for taking the time to come on. So you, as I said, come from the Zeng This Podcast,
Yes.
which is a geeky podcast that covers video games, comics, movies, and more. So it's very within that geek realm, which is what we do best.
Yes.
So beyond that, why don't you tell us a little bit about that show and kind of when you got started with podcasting?
I can't remember the exact time I got started in listening to podcasting, but actually doing podcasting and doing the Zeng This Podcast. That happened around October. We started working on it in September. And then in October, we actually put out our first episode, and it's grown a lot since then. If you are going to go back and listen to any of the older episodes, don't listen to the first one. It is awful. But we've come a long way since there. I do it with my better half, Ellie, is my counterpart in that. Me and her do it together. And we decided around January, right before January started, that we were going to devote this year to Star Wars. So every month we are deeply analyzing one of the movies. And we're up to Empire will be this month. And we've also done, the comics, the TV shows and stuff like that to kind of fill in little gaps here and there too. And we started the whole thing in January with what order do you watch Star Wars in? So that was a powder keg of an episode to begin the whole process with.
Yeah, because
there were debates abound.
Yeah, because there are so many varying opinions of which way. Because there's the machete order, there's the order of actual release. There's obviously 1 through 7.
Yep.
Well, there's the right way to watch it. You watch A New Hope, and then you go back and watch the shitty ones.
Well, see...
Well, hold on a second. Where do you put Rogue One, then, when you do that?
That is a good question, isn't it?
See, these are the things we had to do when we were getting into this, and we looked at it every different way we possibly could, too.
All right, so let's make this about Star Wars for a bit, because I'm good with that, and I'm sure everybody else here is in the chat.
We're all
with
good
this
with
too.
it. I mean, I threw that out there just to start this whole debate
so,
anyway.
So I, despite what other people might say, I really enjoyed the prequels. I was young. It was my freshman year of high school when episode 1 came out, and
not the direction I thought you were going.
And
you were young, you were innocent.
Yeah, no, and
some guy had a lightsaber,
and I enjoyed it. So I like 1, I like 2, I like 3. I mean, they have their flaws. I don't really have so much of a problem with certain things that people have. I mean, yeah, they're a little over CGI'd and whatnot.
No, you said that the prequels hold a special place for you when you were young, but would you have not been younger when you saw the original trilogy? I mean, did that not... for me, that defined my childhood, right? Now, I will say that the prequels hold a place because they expand the universe and give us a lot more to play with.
Do you want a blasphemous answer? I never saw all 3 of the original trilogy.
Well, I can't podcast with you anymore.
Until after...
We can't. It's over. We can't do this anymore. What do you mean?
Now,
you never saw the original until after the prequels?
Not fully through, no.
How did I not know this about you?
I'm not a sci-fi guy. I'm a fantasy guy. So I was never
really...
But
Star Wars includes elements of all of
right,
them.
but it's
a fantasy in space.
It's a fantasy in space. No, I fully agree.
You have fucking wizards, man.
Yeah, no, I know. It's wizards and space swords. I get it now. I get it. But I'm just saying, like, I didn't at that point.
Quick aside, you need a drop of George Lucas saying laser swords.
Laser swords. So really quick to well, I mean, we can talk about the order thing, and then we can definitely just dive into Star Wars and focus there for a bit. But so for me, I like the 1 through 7 order myself. I think it tells a good story. My only contention with that is you cut off the end of episode 1. And the reason that you cut off the end of episode 3. And the reason you cut off the end of episode 3 is because if you cut off enough at the right point, it does not spoil that Anakin is Vader for episode 4.
Somebody had that. They messaged us with that because we reached out to so many people before we did this, and someone had that, and I thought it was the most unique thing I had ever heard, and it was just like mind-blowing to hear that because I was like, that's so interesting because I've never heard anyone bring it up.
That's my only contention with the prequels is if you want to watch them in order, which is difficult to do. I mean, watching the prequels in order, it's like playing Fallout 4 and then going to trying to play Fallout 1. It just feels a little bit more broken. It doesn't look as pretty. It's not as, it doesn't flow as well because it's older. You can't hold it to the same standards graphically. So it can be difficult visually to watch them back and forth. No, at this point now, I love the original trilogy. So I definitely, it's not that I didn't enjoy it. It was something that I was never exposed. Like, okay, side note, let's talk about you realize I did not hear my first Who song until I played Rock Band?
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, my parents listened to country music. There was just, I wasn't exposed to those things. But anyway, yeah. So no, if you cut off the end of episode 3, so the Vader giveaway isn't spoiled.
But see, that plays more to my point and why you would watch the original first.
No, yeah, I could see that. Well, no, but you don't even get that till the end of episode 5. Because when A New Hope was originally written, it was a standalone film, and at that point, it was not known that Vader was going to be Anakin. Actually, with the woman that was writing episode 5, before she passed away, in the process of the development of episode 5, before Lucas had to take the writing over himself, he was supposed to have this big space wizard castle. Like, he wasn't even going to be Anakin Skywalker.
Well, I want a space wizard castle, but regardless, that's a moot point because 3 movies were made.
Right.
They're there. If it was only 1 movie, then I could see where you're coming from, but it's not.
Fair enough.
That got serious all of a sudden.
So what about you, Zenger? Where does your preferred order lie?
Well, I mean, I took a hard stand at times on certain orders. And to be honest, I mean, I've seen them so many times. I've watched them probably every different way you possibly could by now. And the order we're doing for the show, just to point that out, we decided to do them in release order since we are leading up to, of course, 8.
Right.
We're going to be doing 8, so we wanted to do them in that order, but we wanted to have the discussion of the different orders to watch it in. I kind of like the machete method.
Right.
To be honest, just because... but then Rogue One kind of makes it complicated, so the only thing I could say is watch Rogue One after you watch 4. But right. I don't know. Some of the machete method just works with me. To be honest, I'd rather just tell you to watch 4 through 6 and then go through 1. But like I said, for story purposes, if you're like, you have to watch all of them, and if you want it as a coherent story, the machete method of after you watch 5, you watch 1 through 3. And then you watch 6 is the way to do it then for story purposes.
Right. Now
to tell that story.
I don't ignore the fact that you can leave out episodes 1 through 3, and aside from missing some really cool battles, there's nothing that you learn there that is necessary to enjoy 4, 5, and 6 or Rogue One and 7.
There isn't, but you get all the extra worlds, you get the ships. Look at JF. JF could appreciate what I'm saying, just for the sheer technology of it and all of the ships from all the different worlds.
Right.
Now, to totally go against what I said before, when I do watch Star Wars in its entirety, I go and start at episode 1.
Right.
Just because.
It just gets better.
But there's nothing for me. There's nothing spoiled for me, right?
I'll get to the prequels in a second. One thing I do want to point out, though, and this is something that I'm going to give them a shout out. Down the Hall podcast, Chet on there pointed this out to us, and he's been on our show several times. He said that watching it the machete method makes a bigger impact when you watch Return of the Jedi and Luke's journey. Because then you see the journey that Luke could possibly be going down the same path his father went on. It makes that impact more than, Luke's teetering on the edge.
Do you think that in episode 8 we'll get that journey in retrospect and actually see where he went in all those years that we missed?
Possibly. I have my own theory about where that's going to go, and I don't know how right I'm going to be on that, but I think I've got sound judgment.
Share with us.
Let's talk episode 8 theories, because I have a doozy really quick to address the chat room. I don't hate Jar Jar, and I get a lot of flack for that, too. I would take Jar Jar over C-3PO.
Okay, real quick, I'll do my prequel spiel. Having to watch them again for the show, I've found kind of a new respect for them. They don't hold up to the original, but everyone complained about the politics and everything like that. So I kind of watched it with, let me try to watch this with the politics in mind.
Right.
And it didn't make it more enjoyable. It just kind of, I was seeing if that held up, and it kind of does throughout some of it.
Right.
And to be honest, Jar Jar's bad, but if you just ignore most of his stuff, it doesn't hurt the rest of the movie.
He's there for comic relief. He is.
Yeah.
Jar Jar.
If you just completely ignore him.
Right.
No harm, no foul.
Jar Jar is the 3PO of the prequels, who is in that role is now served by BB-8, who is significantly less annoying.
Yeah, he doesn't talk. And again, holding with Lucas, they are kids' movies, and we've just grown out of that particular demographic.
There we go. Nate's perfect buddy movie. Nick Cage and Jar Jar as cops fighting crime, trying to stop Jared Leto's Joker.
Where can I buy that? Is that on Netflix right now, or
no?
Where do I get this movie?
That's in the section behind the Batwing doors that you have to be 21 to enter.
I have a really bad obsession with Nicolas Cage.
You too?
Yeah. So my Twitch streaming page for my game streaming, it's called The Sin Cage, and a lot of my I have where are we here?
I can eat a page for hours.
I've got that on my soundboard. I've got...
What do you say we cut the chit-chat? A-hole!
Yeah, I love Nicolas Cage.
You need to get some of the...
You guys are giving me a lot of ammunition to talk about, but I want to...
Let's stick with Star Wars.
Let me put a pin in the Star Wars prequel real quick. Episode 2 is the worst, by far, out of the prequels. I will argue that from now on. I would prefer episode 1 over 2.
As a whole movie, I would agree, but I think episode 2, as much as, again, gets a lot of flack, I think it has one of the best fight scenes, which is the Yoda Dooku fight scene.
The end is the only thing that makes that watchable, but getting there is the most painful experience. It just did not work.
It is. The whole poisoning thing, the young Boba Fett, it was...
I
don't think I could pick a worse one for the 3. There are pieces of all that are terrible.
No, there definitely are. But like I said, going
3.
back and watching them,
I think of the 3 is the best.
It's the best. But I mean, what stands out for me in that movie is Anakin and Padme talking, and the whole "I'm so in love with you" sequence.
The Dawson's Creek scene.
So love is blind? That's because I'm so in love with you. Can we be a little bit more wooden? What terrible fucking acting.
Well, see, now here's the thing. And
at least in 2, you get that Jedi.
See, but I think that was the directing and the writing, because if you look at Hayden Christensen in other movies, like in Jumper, Hayden's awesome. He's not a bad actor. It's just
he had a better movie to deal with. I'll agree
right,
with you there,
exactly.
But I
And I'm excited, and I hope the rumors, and I don't know if it's been confirmed. I haven't been following news too closely, but I hope the rumors that Hayden's going to be in episode 8 is true, because I would love to see what he does as Anakin, whether he's a Force ghost or whether he's reincarnated or resurrected or whatever the case may be. I would love to see what he does with Anakin under good direction and better writing.
Fair enough. Now, as for my episode 8 prediction.
Yeah.
All right. Hang on. I'm going to try to compact this down.
Okay.
I think Luke discovered the origin of the Jedi Order. In my opinion, from what I've seen, and this is my theory going. This I can tell you about 50 million other theories, but this is the one I'm kind of hitching my train on.
Okay.
Gray Jedis. He discovered that gray Jedis are the ways that the Jedi Order used to be. They used to be a balance of both light and dark. They were not this cut and dry, pure good Sith or pure evil. It was you had to balance the Force in yourself as much as within the rest of the world. And that's why I think he is the last Jedi. He's the last Jedi that existed, but the original order existed as gray Jedi, to where they're a balance.
I totally agree with that, but I don't
my
think
evidence,
for the larger
my
fan
evidence
base
for that actually goes deeper. It is. Do you know what's not canon right now? That Disney has been like that. That's not canon. We're not including that. The Old Republic. Why would something taking place thousands of years in the past be relevant to the movies today?
But I thought that was changed with
Rebels.
With Rebels, yeah, because they officially canonized.
They recanonized.
They canonized characters, but not events.
That's true. Yeah,
they recanonized the war.
Right. Yeah, and I thought they
can't think of
recanonized
his name off the top of my head.
I know he.
Revan.
Yes.
And I thought they recanonized the game as well, because there was a lot of flack there.
To the best of my knowledge, it's not canon. No, I could be wrong. On that.
Okay. Because that was why I didn't mind the game. I mean, it's Warcraft Lite, but like that was one of the big reasons I stopped playing was when they came out and said, "Oh yeah, by the way, none of this is canon." Excuse me, none of this is canon. And I'm like, well, then why am I playing it?
But that's the reason I say that, that's why they're not talking about the Jedi from that, because it's going to show you that the original Jedi were this balance. And another evidence is Star Wars loves to do seeding. If you pay attention to the Rebels series, Ahsoka, gray Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
Why would they make her a gray Jedi? Why would they make her be that unless they were kind of seeing response to a character being a gray Jedi, a loved character being a gray Jedi? And it's the Bear Dune. It's whole thing about balance. Like it's all showing that there's a whole balance, and the balance is supposed to be within the jet or within whoever the Force user is to be both light and dark and to walk that middle ground.
I like that part of the theory.
I totally agree with that theory. But again,
wasn't there something
even in Rebels? I don't think that they'll actually name gray Jedis just because of the fan base at large.
Right.
People who aren't going to go that deep into.
I don't think they're going to ever name it as gray Jedi. It's just I think that's what it's going to be. Is
it's
the
a true
original
Jedi.
Jedis were the balance,
right? Exactly,
within themselves.
Wasn't there something?
It wasn't a balance between. You have this many Sith, you have this many, you got to bring a balance to the Force. You, yourself, as the Force user, is the balance.
Wasn't there something in the original Episode 8 trailer or the teaser when it came out where, because Luke obviously looks very dark, his cloak is very gray washed, and wasn't there something where there was the gray Jedi symbol could be seen on the cave wall?
Yeah.
You could see it on, that might be a Force tree, for one. That actually is like the roots of a Force tree, supposedly. But the other thing is, Luke does say stuff in that. He does, and yes, there is an older Jedi symbol that hand goes over. But Luke does say, what do you see? The light, the dark, a balance, and then he goes, it's so much more than that.
Right.
That to me is evidence for my theory. Now I could be 110% wrong on this.
Right.
I could be, but I'm just saying I gave you my evidence. So
right. No, I like it. If you were to tell me that was it, I wouldn't have a reason to doubt you. So quick question, and you don't need to give a big explanation. I'm just curious as to where your thought lies. Rey, Kenobi, or Skywalker?
Neither. I don't want her to be any. I don't want her to be either because I kind of would like the series to depart from certain characters. Would it be cool for her to be a Kenobi? Yeah. Would it be cool for her to be a Skywalker? Sorry, I saw something in the chat. Interesting. No, I just think that she should just be her own character. And to be honest, there is a theory out there that I'm kind of putting weight to a little bit. I can't give a big explanation on this one. And I don't think they're going to do it because it would be the same twist as before. What if she's Poe's sister and he didn't know that he had a sister?
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing. Sorry, I'm rambling.
No, you're the guest.
Yeah,
Go
you're
ahead.
here to ramble.
You guys turned this on. So
that's fine. We like it.
So there's 2 Force trees that Luke had to get in the comic series that happened after Return of the Jedi. He kept one and gave another one to Poe's parents. These Force trees are supposed to be something very sacred to the Jedi. Why the crap would he give them to Poe?
So is the thought that Poe has Jedi powers or the Force powers?
Poe does, in my opinion, Poe is Force sensitive.
It would explain how he was able to survive that crash.
Well, he is such
It would also explain how
pilot,
he is
right?
the best pilot.
Just like Luke.
That's true.
There's
That's actually, you know, I like that. I like that. Now,
also, where we're now going to have Disney doing it, and you're going to have Star Wars movies on and on and on, and you're coming
it gives
to
us
a
new
close.
family.
Yeah, the Skywalker saga is coming to a close. There's only more and more reason to have somebody else take over the mantle.
No, I agree with that. So now
Rey's just the sister he never knew he had because she was born. He was not around, and something happened to. Like I said, I don't want to get into the whole theory because we're working on an episode about theories and everything.
And that's fine. See, I like, and we don't have to go too much into it. I mean, if anything, it's a good teaser for the episode, your episode coming up. I like the theory, if anything, of her being a Solo and she's Kylo's sister. I mean, again, it sticks with the whole now. So Captain.
Phasma?
I always no in the chat there, Captain Intermedy.
Sorry.
It's our friend Corey, so I never really pronounce his name. He was Temerity, yeah. So it's like he said, he's tired of relatives, tired of legacy, and I get that to a point. But now, and we won't go into it. We talked about it on our old Star Wars Doctor Who show months ago. But my theory for 8 revolves around Snoke, and I think Snoke is the first Skywalker. So if you go back to now, and by first Skywalker, he's Darth Plagueis. So if you go back,
so your theory is that he, through the rituals that the Sith can do, impregnated.
Exactly. He is the God to Anakin's Jesus. So because we know from episode 1 that Anakin didn't have a father.
Yes.
We know from episode 3 that Palpatine's master, who we know was Plagueis, was capable of creating life from nothing using the midichlorians and the Force. As much as I hate the fucking M word, it works. So we have Plagueis, who then created Anakin, which would make him Anakin's father. We then have Anakin, who birthed Leia and Luke, which would make him their grandfather. We then have Leia, who, thanks to Han, birthed Kylo, which would make him his great-grandfather. So when Kylo is addressing Snoke, it actually informed he is actually his great-grandfather, which gives away how he knew, or I mean, maybe they knew anyway that Solo was his father. But because I feel, as much as Corey says, and I disagree, episodes 1 through eventually will be 9 is the Skywalker saga. It was about Anakin, then it was about Luke, and then now it's going to be about whoever takes that mantle up. Now, even if she is a Solo, or you have Kylo who is a Solo, by blood, he's still a Skywalker.
True.
So I think that's cool. It gives us Plagueis. A lot of people want Plagueis. We don't really know what his race looks like. We knew how they were designed in the expanded universe, but that's all been decanonized. So correct. I think that would be cool to see, and I think it would give, and that with the rumors of Hayden being on site for episode 8, that gives us reason because he has resurrected his son, or he's brought his son back. Now the only question is Anakin was redeemed before he died in episode 6. So true. Would he be dark Anakin? Would he be light Anakin? Would he come to, because you have Kylo who's essentially worshiping Vader's helmet in episode 7. So would he come to try and save Kylo? I mean, we see him a lot without the mask in the trailer. We're probably going to see him, and we see the destroyed mask. So we're probably going to see, as much as I hate it, we're going to see maskless Kylo a lot in episode 8, I would assume. So, I mean, is this going to be his dark turn? Is this going to, it's just, there's so many possibilities. But in my own head, I mean, I like the idea of Plagueis as Snoke because it's the Skywalker saga.
Yeah, and that's a nice theory. But again, Disney, I don't think we're going to tie back into the prequels with Immaculate Conception.
Right.
I just don't think they're going to go that way.
No, yeah, I mean, who knows? Either way, we're only a couple months away, which is crazy.
I know.
What if Snoke is the dark side?
The embodiment of the dark
like
side?
the all, like, so he's...
There you go.
He's
there
the
you go.
Satan
Think
of...
about that.
Yeah, that's... No, it's...
If he is the embodiment... Because they point out in the books that that Sidious, Palpatine, was aware of something out there.
Right.
He was aware of something out there. And what if, and he thought that it might be the origins of the dark side. And like I said, this kind of goes against my other theory, but I just wanted to say, to put that out there as, what if he is the embodiment of the dark side, like incarnate?
Right.
Just throwing it out there.
Now, I wonder if that was true. What would be the yin to his yang, and would Luke be the balancing in the middle?
Well,
like I said, it goes against my other theories. That's why I'm not going to try to throw multiple theories out.
Well, that's what happens when you overthink Star Wars. You contradict yourself.
And actually, that would almost work.
So I'll be right at some point.
Sooner or later.
That would almost work hand in hand, in a way, with mine, in that if he is the embodiment of the dark and he spawned Anakin, that's why, and like, the Skywalkers are doomed to be dark. Like, that's why Anakin went dark. I mean, I know it's not canon, but in the expanded universe, Luke went dark. And he even kind of almost did in the original trilogy. He skirted for a moment.
Well, I mean, look at the trilogy. He started out in white and ended in black.
Right. And then you've got Kylo, would be of that bloodline, who went dark. Like, so if you've got... No, yeah, well, that's true. Leia hasn't. No, that's true. Well, maybe it only maybe it's a heredity thing that only affects the males of the family.
To be a shithead.
To be a shithead. Yeah, but no, I love episode 8 talk. I'm grasping for it. Like, I would love a leak of some sort.
I think that's going to be kept under the tightest of wraps.
Oh no, it totally is. I mean, to be somebody who knows. Well, that's true, and. How and to the chat room, how force sensitive do we think Leia is? Because she's never really used force powers.
She can sense the force,
right? And like she can and that like it's almost a telepathic thing in a way where she can sense things,
right? And if you have ever read Kevin Anderson's Jedi Academy trilogy, I mean, she had some force training in that, but that's not canon anymore, so it matters not.
Right. Now, speaking of Leia, there was something that came out a couple weeks ago where they had said that like Leia or Carrie Fisher was going to get an epic send-off in episode 8. I'm excited to see what that is. Where do you think... So she obviously was going to be a big deal in 8. The one thing that got leaked that I don't particularly like was that it was confirmed that she was cast for episode 9. It was when they got a release of like the insurance policy shortly after Carrie Fisher passed away. They went over kind of what Disney was insured for. And one of the things that they were insured for was her appearance in episode 9, which confirms that she does survive episode 8. Which, if I go by one of my theories when this first got announced, that means we're probably going to lose Luke in episode 8, according to that theory. But maybe not now that Carrie Fisher passed away, because my theory when 7, 8, and 9 first got announced, I was like, okay, we've got the original 3 back. We've got Solo, we've got Leia, we've got Luke. And
so you think they're going to kill off one in each?
Exactly.
Yeah.
We already lost Han. And I think that Luke was set to be lost in 8, and then Leia would be lost in 9. We're not going to get Leia in 9 now, obviously. And I think we're going to... I mean, maybe we don't need one of the originals in episode 9, but I'm wondering how... Like, I would like to see what their game plan was before Carrie Fisher passed away compared to what their game plan is now and what that might have changed.
I would assume even if we do lose Luke, he's had a lot of time to himself to study the living Force. So we'll probably get Force Ghost Luke.
Force Ghost Luke, yeah.
Yep.
And at the very least, voiceovers, a la Obi-Wan.
Right. No, that would be cool.
But really, all I care about is getting some backstory as to what Luke has been doing all this time, outside of trying to restart an academy.
I'm wondering if we're going to...
and then there's Chewbacca. Thank you, chat room. He'll be around.
Yep. And C-3PO and R2-D2, technically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, anyone that's in a suit, that's true, yeah. So, no, that's true. Oh, man, Corey, don't scare me. I don't want to lose Kylo. I mean, I know he's probably going to die, but he's so cool. I was so, like, I tell you, man, I was on the edge. Like I didn't care about Han dying. I thought that scene was cool.
Get the fuck out of here. What
but
are you talking about,
like
man?
when he was fighting when he was fighting Rey at the end, like I was so like, 'cause I love Kylo. Kylo is amazing. Like I like the sword, I like his attitude, I like his temper tantrums. Like I think he is an incredible villain. And I thought for sure they were gonna Darth Maul him at the end of Episode 7, and I was I was on the edge of my seat, worried that they were gonna one-off him, and I would have been so pissed. I'm really glad they didn't.
Are you trolling us?
No, I'm dead serious.
I mean, I know you are.
I'm glad they didn't too.
But
we've been too prequeling.
I mean, it might have.
That's my other big complaint about the prequels. Is it just seemed like every movie had its own villain. I mean, with of course Sidious being the main one, but
right.
It just you never got to know it. It was just okay. They're here, big battle at the end, and dead.
Yeah.
I mean, Dooku kind of survived, but I mean, to be honest, he might as well die.
Yeah,
he was basically on his side.
He was killed in the beginning of 3. Yeah, it was almost like a Monster of the Week format.
You could have just.
Yeah,
I would have liked to have seen more Maul outside of Clone Wars and Rebels. It's too bad. It's too bad the Sith can only have a master and an apprentice.
The rule of 2.
Because it would have been great to have some Jedi Sith battles where there were a few, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's why like I would like I want Episode 9 to be it for like make it the Skywalker saga, end 9, call it. Now give us an Episode 10 or start it over. What I would like to see, and you mentioned the Old Republic earlier, I would love to see a live action proper, I mean, make it just a trilogy if you want, or make it a trilogy of trilogies. I don't care. I would love to see an Old Republic trilogy.
Right, and this goes to what Corey and I were talking about in the chat. Something with broader scope.
Right.
Is what I would like to see.
Right. Yeah, no, I would love to see...
Preferably what you're talking about before all of the political bullshit and upheaval.
Well, Old Republic was the Republic. It was very political.
No. I'm talking about the revolution of the Empire and all of that. I don't need that.
Like the fall of the Republic.
And I don't need Senate talk. Just, let things be fine and give us a story of what's going on in the universe outside of that.
No, I could see that. That would make sense. Man,
Old
Star
Republic
Wars hijacked this episode.
Alone.
It did. I'm also, just pointing this out, I didn't mention it before, but I'm also on another podcast that I kind of appear on called Star Wars Junk Podcast. So
nice.
Discussions like this.
Right. We just debuted 3 weeks ago, or 4 weeks, about a month ago now. Wow, has it been a month already? A show called All Geeked Up, and All Geeked Up actually replaced a show that we had called Sonics and Sabers, which was a Doctor Who and Star Wars podcast. And nice. It just got to the point that the last few episodes just kind of became general geek discussion, so we just kind of rebranded the show. It is funny how that works, where it's like, let's talk about Star Wars. But I mean,
about that, we've talked about Star Wars.
But
lot.
That's one thing that I love about this show, is this show could be a sporadic gunshot blast of random topics, or if, we've had episodes that were all about World of Warcraft. We've had episodes that are now all about Star Wars. So I like it when and that's the cool thing about this show, is it captures random shit.
Yeah. I mean, it got me, so
well, there you go. So what else? So back to your podcast. So what other kind of things are topics that people can find on Zeng This?
Another thing we do, and this is something we kind of established. I don't know when, but Ellie came up with. I mean, it's something we were doing, but Ellie came up with it as it should be its own separate thing, because we put out shows every Monday, and those are like reviews, discussions, stuff like that. But what we started doing is we're doing something called Read This, which is where we pick like a graphic novel and we read it and then discuss it. We try not to do too much spoiler stuff, because we want to have it presented as we're trying to get you to read this book too. For example, this month's going to be Spider-Man Blue.
Cool.
Which I've actually never read. I enjoy Spider-Man. I love, sorry, I'm blanking for a second. Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale.
Okay.
I love their Batman run. I love Superman for All Seasons. So I was like, I want to do this. So that's what we're doing this month. Last month we actually kind of did, because we do movies too, where we'll throw a movie in there every now and then, and we'll just call it Watch This instead. And we had our 42nd episode, so we did Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Nice.
Because you have to do that.
Very cool.
It is required.
Yes, it is. So we did that. So that's something we've done. We actually try to cover not as many mainstream comics. Like we like doing Marvel, but we like to do stories that you might not have heard about. One of our favorite ones we've done is been Copperhead by Image. And that one is one that we have interviewed both the creators of it, Scott Godleski and Jay Fabro. We've interviewed both of them on the show. Scott's actually been on twice.
Nice.
Because he just did the most recent 26 through 28 on Superman. He did the artwork for that.
Very cool.
So we had him on to kind of talk about that and everything. And those were ones that were very fun. We also did Fables. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Fables comics.
No.
They actually did a video game too, and we're big into video games as well. The video game was called Wolf Among Us. It was done by Telltale Games.
Okay, I'm familiar with the game.
Yes, the game leads into what happens in the comics.
Okay.
And it's basically, for anyone who doesn't know, it's fairy tales in the modern day, kind of snuck over to our world per se. So it's really cool. We discussed that one, and that was one of our first ones we did. And the coolest thing ever was kind of take it out into my personal life. Me and Ellie were on vacation and everything, and I just happened to have my phone. I didn't used to keep linked to the Zeng This Twitter account. Now I do. But I was sitting there, and my phone went off, and I look at it, and it's just a fan of ours going, "Hey, I picked up the game and the comic. Thanks, that was an awesome recommendation." And it was like the moment where I was like, "Oh my god!" Because it was like the first time we've ever had somebody be like, "Hey, we went out and bought something you recommended."
Right.
And it just was like the coolest thing ever to have that happen.
That is a really cool feeling. We have a couple of people that create some really cool things on the show. Particularly, there's an author that J.F. Dubois that has been on several times, and we've given away his book a couple times and things like that. And no, it's really cool when like you can not only present your content, but people like and respect what you do enough to also check out the content that you recommend, and that's a really cool feeling.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, we do stuff like that, like our discuss. Actually, this Monday's episode is going to be us discussing. At the moment, it's just Dark Tower. We might put in a kind of B conversation because we went to go see Dark Tower, so we're going to discuss that this
afternoon.
And we've got we've got a lot of stuff coming up that's really exciting that I don't want to hint at too much.
Yeah,
but yeah, we've done some really fun shows in the past where we take topics and kind of do our own spin on them too.
So now all of these different variants of the show, they're all on that one podcast feed?
Yes, it's all on the same feed. Like I said, every Monday is just kind of the main stuff, but then twice a month we have the Star Wars special is normally middle of the month, and then the Read This or Watch This is at the end of the month, whichever one we decide to do. And we let people know ahead of time, what we're reading or what we're watching so that you can comment with us and, you can read it with us.
I like that. That's actually really cool. It's almost like the inverse of what we do because it's very similar where we have different shows or different types of shows that cover all these different things, but where we have it under a network umbrella as separate shows, you've kind of got it to where it's all under that one feed.
Well, the thing we kind of wanted to do is the Read This and Watch This kind of turned into, if we want to do a comic review, but let's say like you're not interested in us discussing Spider-Man,
right?
You're still going to get the Monday episode,
right?
You just don't like the Read This. It's just that content. It's just us discussing that content right there, and it's nothing else. So that's something I really liked out of that. Hey, David Ginsburg's in the chat room.
I just saw that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, why does that name sound familiar? But no, I mean, it's just something that we decided to do to where if we were like, oh, hey, this comic might be good, we can tell somebody, hey, go check it out. We've done a review of it. Don't worry, you don't have to sit through the 20 minutes of us talking about news or this and that. It is straight just a discussion on that.
That's cool. I like that. That's an interesting way to approach it. And I don't think if there are others, at least that I've seen, there aren't many because, I mean, so many people are like get a separate show, get a separate feed, like just launch things left and right. And I like that whole, like, Yeah, so it's the same podcast and it's the same personalities, but we're going to give you this and we're going to give you this, and it's segmented. So like if you don't want everything, like if you want everything, it's right there on the one feed. Yes. But if you don't, like you can pick and choose.
And that's kind of what we went for with it, was that's what we wanted to do is, if you want to tune in for every episode, that's awesome. If you want to just tune in for our Star Wars episode, that's awesome.
That's cool.
If you want to tune in for our comic stuff, that's awesome. Like it's kind of, pick what you want to listen to, and we're putting out there just whatever we want to do.
Right. I like that. That's a cool way to approach it. I really like that idea.
Thank you. I can kind of say that was more of an Ellie thing.
Right.
So kind of presented it, and we workshopped it together and came up with
that's
what we're
cool.
doing.
So you mentioned video games. We haven't talked about video games much. What are your other than Wolf Among Us now? What are some games that kind of catch your eye? I'm just curious, being a gamer myself.
Oh my gosh. Years worth of gaming to me. Metal Gear Solid has always been one of my favorite. I love the Halo series. Gears of War was a great series.
My favorite.
I really enjoy. Recently, I've been playing a lot of Titanfall 2.
Very cool.
I don't know, something about that game. It's just something to where I played it, and it was kind of like I got it for really cheap the first one. And I was like, this game seems okay. And the second I got a Titanfall and got into a Titan and started smacking things around, I'm like, this is awesome.
Dude, it's the perfect blend of fast-paced shooter and mechs. Two of my favorite things.
Now, Titanfall 2 is available on the EA/Origin Access now, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, I played Titanfall 2 a lot, and I really enjoyed that as a shooter and everything. But, I mean, I've played games for years. So, I mean, I've come and gone with certain things. Elder Scrolls is one I enjoy. Witcher. Oh my gosh, Witcher is one that I could probably play I could probably play Witcher 3 for a year and just play that game and still never be tired of it. It just has so much content, and it's just such a unique world that I just love it.
It's funny, we talked about it on the last show before this show and how we both haven't played it at all yet.
Yeah, I find myself, and again, for those that were in chat listening to All Geeked Up an hour ago or 2 hours ago, with games that are strictly single player, I find myself just getting lost and getting bored. Horizon, I've tried to play through. Breath of the Wild, I've restarted 2 or 3 or 4 times and just haven't found myself hooked. And like you said, Witcher 3, like I bought it on Steam sale, actually just this past summer sale. I bought it, I booted it up to get my ultra wide settings all set up, and I haven't really touched it since. It's
one of those games, if I'm playing it, it will be what I will be playing for like a month, but then I won't play it for like 2 or 3 months.
Right.
At all. I won't touch it, but I don't know. It's just one of those games that if it hits me at the right moment, I dive into that game and I love it.
Now, do you, and I probably should know that it's been out for a couple years now, but do you have to have played 1 and 2 to know what's going on in 3?
Nope.
All right.
No, I mean, since it's based on a book series, oh God, you guys are really making me nerd out.
By all means.
Since it's based on a book series, the book series ties into the games tie into the games, but you don't have to really know it. It's just, it rewards you for knowing more about it, sort of thing. Like, you'll get certain connections and you'll understand stuff better.
I assume there's probably Easter eggs laid here and there, and
yeah, you'll understand stuff better.
Yeah.
Than if you just play the game straight. I mean, you can still play it and get the same thing out of it, but
right. I hear one of the things people are asking for would be 1 and 2 being redone with 3's engine, because 1 and 2 1 and 2 did not age well at all.
Yes, I would agree with that. Yeah, that would be awesome. And another game that I would love to see a redo of, the Mass Effect trilogy. I would love to just get cleaned all the content in one go.
But after the end of 3 and then what was Andromeda, do you trust them to remake that trilogy?
I defend Mass Effect. The newest one, I'm kind of like, it's a game. I'm hesitating because I swear if I keep talking about it long enough, Ellie will come down here and start yelling. Because she loves that game. She loves it. She's like, I don't care what the reviewers say. I love this game. I paid money for it. I'm gonna play it. And I'm gonna enjoy it. And I'm like, that's great. As for the trilogy, to be honest, I mean, the ending was whatever. It happens. It's not the best ending in the world, but at the same time, if we want to get morbid real quick, who's to say your choices mean anything?
Well,
like
exactly.
No, and I read an article about that because everyone complained about the end. Now, I never finished 3. I started it.
How often is anybody happy when something ends?
No,
nobody can find a good ending for anything that's going to make everybody
the thing.
happy.
There's so much that world created. There's so many things that you want wrapped up. Like, I might want to know what happened to that bartender on that station.
Right.
It's getting interesting, but I'm never gonna get. It's that's the thing. You're never gonna please everybody.
Right? No, you're not wrong.
So at the end of it, it just cut to black and started rolling credits. I would have been a little upset, but at the same time, if it just had like you made your choices.
Right. Well, I read this article about how the end of Mass Effect 3 was essentially it wasn't so much a slap in the face, but it was like, look, that's life. No matter what choices you make, you're gonna die at the end. And I like it was the whole because I guess depending on certain choices, like there was a different color of the ending, and like
they did put out a patch that had some extra content at the end.
Yeah, and it was just like so your casket might be a different color, your gravestone might be a little bit bigger, but either way, we're all dying at the end. Like, and I mean, it was a morbid way to look at it, but it kind of made sense.
And like I said, I'm sorry to be that way about it because I'm normally a happy-go-lucky person about most stuff, but I'm like, it's seriously. I mean, it's like that. You don't know what your choices did. You got to hope you did the best you could with the time you had.
And kind of like it's like
in the game and in life too.
And it's not really negative. I mean, there's a difference between negative and realistic. Like it's your choices are your fate is sealed. Like that's it. Like he's on a hero's journey where he's going to die at the end. Like, that's just it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Now, wasn't there something at the end of 3 where if you watched past the credits, like, you could see his chest breathing or something like that, like, saying that he wasn't quite dead?
I can't remember. It's been a while, and that's kind of why I want them to remake it, so I have an opportunity to go through it all
no,
again.
That's another one where,
with all the content.
I'm sure...
With all the content.
Like, I think, because all 3 of them are available in... the Xbox 360 versions are available to play on Xbox One.
But I would like them redone and just all the extra content that
would be cool
to pay
to
like
see.
$50 for.
Especially considering that I had read somewhere that Andromeda was so poorly received that the sequel for it was basically all but canceled.
Shelved basically. It's basically shelved indefinitely at the moment.
Yeah. So, which sucks to see because it was. I mean, I played it briefly. I probably put about 10 or 15 hours into it. The world was cool. I really liked the whole like brother-sister thing, and I would like to see more of where that goes. The only problem with a game like Andromeda with the sequel being shelved is that it was designed as a sequel, or I'm sorry, as a trilogy, which means if you're looking for closure, you're not getting it in Andromeda. And now you might not get that closure. So for those people like me who, I mean, we spent the money on it, we own it, but now
you got 1/3 of the story.
Right. Now that we know, it would almost be like if today they were like, episode 8 and 9 aren't happening. Like, how much does 7 really mean? How many unanswered questions do we have? And would you ever really watch 7 again knowing that those questions were never going to be answered?
True.
You know what I mean? So it makes it tough. And
that's deep.
That's the hard part. I mean, it's happened to so many TV shows. It's happened to so many, movies as well, where it's like there was this big layout. Like, I mean, we almost saw it happen with Power Rangers, which hopefully, the rumor of the toys saving it is true. But like, we saw, like, we didn't really see like the climax of the movie. What everybody wanted to see in their suits with the Megazord battling.
Yep.
The movie ended with Tommy and Kimberly, like the original, and we saw the green power crystal, which means we're probably going to get the Green Ranger in the second one if it happens. And if we had that big lead up and then the movie was just shit canned because
who put Futurama in there? Sorry, your chat room distracted me for a second.
Oh, that's fine. Well, Family Guy's still going.
Futurama. One of my favorite shows.
I've seen a couple episodes.
Down, one of my favorite shows of all time.
I need to catch up on geek things. See, my thing with Futurama was that's the one that's done by the guy that does Simpsons, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. See, I was never a big Simpsons
Matt
fan.
Groening.
Oh, it's better than The Simpsons.
So
it is better than The Simpsons. It did have an ending to it per se. They always knew that they were going to be ending, so they did a good job of trying to wrap at least a good chunk of stuff up.
Right.
Now
oh,
go ahead.
No, I was just saying they always try to do a good job of wrapping stuff up. To an extent. I mean, there's still questions left unanswered.
You can get your bullet points with that show, though. You got to watch Snoo, the Clover, and the Yancey episode, and the one with the dog, right?
Oh, Jurassic Park. Oh.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a few, like, there's a few standout episodes that you should definitely see.
Now, I have a question.
But fuck all those cartoons, man. Rick and Morty.
Yeah, Rick and Morty forever. For 100 years, Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty.
We almost didn't get season 3.
But we have it.
No, you know what I want? I want Aqua Teen Hunger Force to come back.
That's still there, isn't it?
Is it still there?
They change the iterations of it every season, but it's still around.
No, I know. Nothing will ever be like season 1.
No.
The bus of the undead. It's Dracula bus.
You fixed the gas leak. I did love that show. You know what's amazing about that is that whole 18 to 24 demographic seems to ring true. Because as soon as I turned 25, man, I fell off of Adult Swim so fucking fast.
Yeah, no. I think the nail in the coffin for Aqua Teen was the movie. Now, I liked the movie. I loved the intro music. But no, the bus season 1 episode 3, the bus of the undead, always hold a special place in my heart.
Dusty Kazangas.
Dracula's not in the bus. He is the bus. He's a reverse vampire. He worships the sun. Where's he from? Transylvania. I could watch that episode over and over again. Okay, so quick theory question. So when it comes to stories ending and not getting it, what would you rather have? Would you rather have something like that where it got cut short, like Firefly or things of that nature, where you never got the complete story? Or now the only example I have in my head of this is Scrubs, because I was a huge Scrubs fan. Would you rather, or do you dislike it more with a situation like Scrubs, where you get the perfect ending of what should have been the final season, and then they bring back an abomination of what was and try and continue it when the perfect ending was there and it just should have been done? Like, what do you think is worse, losing it or having too much of it?
Okay. Scrubs is a bad example to use on me, by the way. I've watched probably every episode of Scrubs. I just don't know. So something didn't connect with me on that.
Yeah, I didn't care for that show either.
Like deeply enough to where it mattered.
Oh, but Dr. Cox, he's so
no,
good.
No, he had great, like, there's great moments.
Right.
It's just I can't tell you a single episode, like, from beginning to end of any matter.
Dr. Cox is the comical Dr. House.
The only thing that stood out for me on that show was the janitor being in the action movie that he was in as a cop.
Yes,
that was the only thing that I liked in that show.
Did you now really quick, because we're gonna get now? I know neither of you really watched it, so it's fine. So we won't get into it too much. But did you ever see the fan theory where the janitor was dead the whole time?
No.
Yeah, I've heard that actually on some of the stuff. Where
janitor he was either dead the whole time or he was a figment of JD's imagination. Now
we actually did a podcast about the Tommy Westphall universe, where all TV shows are actually tied together.
Oh, cool!
And are in the same continuity. We did that a long time ago, and I know Scrubs got mentioned.
Nice. Yeah, no, that's one of my favorite shows. I always get, like, it's funny. I've watched the entire series several times, and every time JD screws up with what's her name? It begins with an E.
Elliot,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, I actually know. Wow.
Well, I mean, it's close to Ellie.
It did break TV. Yes. St. Elsewhere did break TV.
But yeah, like I've watched it over and over again. But every time JD screws it up with Elliot, I always get pissed off at him. I'm like, you're fucking it up, dude.
This is something I don't know if we're ever gonna get a chance to discuss on my show, because Ellie's not a super fan of this idea. So I guess I better grab a hold of it real quick.
Go ahead.
Sitcoms are something I've always wanted to discuss. We just haven't gotten to it yet.
Right.
One of the things is I feel like a lot of sitcoms have a giant, like, fall off point where you can point to an episode, to a season where you're like, it was done after that point.
Right.
A shark jumping moment.
Yeah. How I Met Your Mother for me got me. I've had enough ex-girlfriends and stuff like that watch Friends enough. I can tell you the exact moment Friends dropped off too, because I've had to watch it so much.
I'm curious, exactly what's your Friends drop off point?
After Chandler and Monica's wedding, when they find out Rachel's pregnant, I'm like, done right at that point.
Okay,
because after that, I just think nothing matters after that.
I don't think I made it past the point where Joey was in the sand with boobs.
I've seen the whole series in its entirety once, but I've never watched it.
I've had the unfortunate of watching it several times.
Yeah.
Luckily, Ellie does not like it that much, so I never have to watch it again. Technically, How I Met Your Mother fell off for me. I loved the show when they started humanizing Barney. To be honest, when Barney was as much Ted as Ted was Ted.
You know, it's funny you make that reference. That's how I felt with Big Bang Theory. Once they started humanizing.
That's another one too. That is a fall off point. I feel for me.
Once they started humanizing Sheldon, I think that kind of lost a little bit of its catch.
Right, but it's like Corey said. Everybody has to continue to grow for the show to grow and keep going.
Technically, because here's the thing, and here's why I wanted to talk about it on our thing. But like I said, who knows if that'll happen? Everyone wants characters to grow. It's something everybody wants characters to grow.
Right.
The problem is when they grow into people that we don't like or grow into characters that are out of character for themselves, we hate it. We all as fans hate certain aspects of the characters then.
Well, I think that's that's an element of fandom in general. I mean, you have it in video games, you have it in music. I mean, you know, we've talked several times about music. I mean, all different bands. You know, his favorite Metallica, my favorite Avenged Sevenfold. Yeah. You look at like bands like Slipknot, and then you've got Stone Sour, or bands like Korn. Like, there's so many bands from that 80s, 90s into the early aughts era where their music was one thing. And it's regardless of the band, you either have it to where their 8th album sounds like their first album, like Disturbed, and everyone complains that they sound exactly the same on every album and you never see any growth, or you have bands like Metallica or Avenged or Korn or Slipknot where they've evolved and changed from album to album, and then people complain that they don't sound the same.
Well, let me just say that when it comes to TV and music, I'll take AC/DC and Seinfeld, where no one ever changes, no one learns anything, and it all holds up.
You're onto something. You're onto something right now, because that's my argument. That is my argument for if anyone, and my argument to myself is Seinfeld and It's Always Sunny for live action stuff. Those are two shows that, in my opinion,
and Always Sunny is your modern day Seinfeld. That is your contemporary answer to Seinfeld.
So if Always Sunny is your modern day Seinfeld, would that make Will and Grace your gay Seinfeld?
I've never watched.
Because I was going to say Will and Grace. Will and Grace is another one of those shows where from episode 1 of season 1 to the end of the last season, like, it was great the whole way through, and I'm excited that it's coming back.
But that's the thing with like It's Always Sunny and Seinfeld. Those characters never grew.
Right.
They never developed at all. You could take the events from season 1 and from end season and have them relive it. It would be the same thing. Yeah. Except for Always Sunny, they're getting to be worse people, which is great.
What about
that's all we really want out of life, is to see shitty people. We can't have characters that love and feel and learn. No.
No. You had some growth in Parks, but what about Parks and Rec?
Parks and Rec is one I need to get into.
Yeah.
I just have this fear of The Office. I seriously watched the entire series of The Office, loved it, got to the end, and just sat back and went, I never want to watch the show again.
No, well, that's the thing, because with a lot of sitcoms, Seinfeld, Will and Grace, I've never seen Always Sunny, so I'm not sure, but you don't need any of the other shows, or any of the other episodes. Any episode of Seinfeld, any episode of Will and Grace, and again, I'm sure it's probably similar or the same for Always Sunny, you can just throw a dart and pick a season and an episode, and you have a complete beginning of episode, end of episode story, and you don't need the context of anything else around it for that story.
Well, I have seen a few episodes of Parks and Rec. I have seen a few, and like I said, they seem to be, I don't know what's going on with certain characters, but I can kind of grab onto stuff. And I think my favorite episode is that I've seen about the probably 10 episodes I've seen is one with Patton Oswalt in it.
Okay, yeah,
where he does the filibuster and he just starts like reading his Star Wars fan fiction.
Yep, that's great. There's a couple episodes that have Louis C.K. in it because he's her boyfriend who's a cop. He's great. Chris Pratt is amazing in the whole thing, as is the girl that ends up being his girlfriend, whose name I can't remember.
I know who you're talking about.
The really lanky, gothy looking girl.
Yeah.
She's great.
Rob Swanson's apparently the ultimate man.
Oh, yeah, I know. He's great. And there's some connection there because he is married to the stuck-up bitch from Will and Grace. Yeah. Aubrey Plaza. Thank you, Corey.
Aubrey Plaza. Love her.
Yeah. And then once you get into, it's either like season 2 or 3, maybe it's even 4. But once you start getting the kid and I'm having name blanks. Corey's going to name them both. The older dude that was in Tommy Boy as the son and / boyfriend. What's his? Corey will give us his name. But anyway.
Rob Lowe.
Thank you, Rob Lowe. Rob Lowe, and then the other guy. Rob Lowe makes that show so good. Adam, there we go. Rob Lowe. See, I knew Corey would have it. Rob Lowe and Adam Scott. They came in as part-timers for like a couple episodes, and then they just became full-timers, and they made that show so much better. But yeah, no, it was a great show. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I started watching it and fully caught up before the last season aired, and then I watched the last season, and it's emotional. You connect to the characters quite a bit.
I'll have to try it out. You mentioned Nick Cage earlier.
Yes, I will always mention Nick Cage.
I can tell. We'll do a Nick Cage episode sometime on Zeng This.
Sorry.
No, it's no problem. I have this ongoing joke, and it's not funny. It's never been funny. It never will be funny. That I claim that the National Treasure movies were just the camera crew following Nick Cage around one weekend. that he goes,
no,
I'm just
like
he was sitting in some meeting in LA,
right?
And he goes, I'm gonna steal a Declaration of Independence. And they're like, Nick, that's a great movie idea. And he looks at me and goes, movie? No, I'm gonna go do it now. And then he walks out, and everyone's like, follow that man. Follow him with the camera now.
I think the movie you're thinking of is Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call.
Right.
I think that's more in line with the life of Nick Cage.
All right, Corey, I have to interrupt for a second. And I know not everybody loves it when I focus on the chat. But Corey has been turning what we've been talking about into old song lyrics. Like, so now
that one was my favorite.
I'm not going to do it in the voice.
I wish you would.
But you know that I don't want to wait for my Jedi midichlorians as opposed to for my night to be over, or for my life to be, whatever the lyrics are. And then he just did, despite all my rage, I am still not a fan of Nick Cage. Corey, we love you.
It's great when the chat room fucks back.
Yes.
So what's your opinion on Ghost Rider then? Since, I mean, you guys kind of seem to like comics and stuff. And Nick Cage.
Okay, so
I don't think Nick Cage should have been Johnny Blaze.
No, now here's the thing. I've never now I'm a comic book movie fan to a point. Mm-hmm. I have read very few comics. Okay. So I have no connection as to how well it follows, how well it doesn't follow, whether it's good or bad. I notoriously love bad movies. I also don't like good movies. I will sit and, like, I thought Suicide Squad was decent. I loved Jared Leto as Joker. I didn't like Captain America 3. Figure that one out. So, yeah, exactly.
I can say a few things, but I feel it's going to go on a tangent. So
no, we can by all means tangent.
No, I mean, if you want me to, what about it didn't you like?
I'm just tired of it. I was bored. I don't know. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't think the story was good. I don't know. I didn't like it. To be fair, I was slightly bored of Captain America 2 Winter Soldier. Like I don't particularly love Captain America. I also don't like Superman. I don't like the Boy Scout heroes.
I had the opposite effect with Captain America. I've known about him. He's cool and everything, but the movies made me actually enjoy him a lot more.
Oh no,
I agree with.
I'm down with him. Winter Soldier, I think, is one of the best Marvel movies that has been done so far. I think it was amazingly done. Civil War had its moments, and I'm not, like I said, it's not terrible. It's definitely a low point for them.
Civil War was great fan service if you want to see all those heroes on screen before you get Infinity War.
It is great fan service, but it's for all the wrong reasons, if you ask me.
I can see that. Do tell. Exacerbate.
No, that's just, you put the term Civil War in there for if you're a comics fan like me, you're obviously going to think, oh, this is going to be epic because, if they follow anything vaguely close to it. And it kind of is just one battle.
Yeah.
where they cause massive amounts of devastation to the entire airport. They're basically proving why they need to be restrained.
The most tropey locale for a battle ever.
Yeah, I mean, it's the battle was. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm nitpicking this movie because it is still a good movie, and it's probably better than a lot of other movies. But when you're comparing it to the grand scheme of what Marvel's trying to do, it's kind of, It was putting pieces into place, is my thing.
See,
which is what all of these movies have been doing.
Yeah,
is they have a bad habit right now of their movies are just trying to move people from place to place or put people in certain scenarios to set up another movie.
At least when it comes to Marvel, though, versus DC, they're for the most part good movies. And in terms of
I mean, DC does a good job with some stuff.
I mean, you have the Civil War battle, right? But
yeah,
I mean, it costs a lot of money to make that battle.
See, the thing I like all over the place. The thing about Marvel is that they aren't making comic book movies. They are making other types. Well, no, they're making other types of movies that have comic book characters in them, whether they're action movies or spy movies or anything like that. Like, and they just happen to feature them. Like, they're not all of the same formula, which is good.
They are not.
The thing about Captain America 3, I will say, is I liked it better than Avengers 2.
Avengers 2 was not
bad,
great,
right?
But still better than Suicide Squad.
For me, I don't much like the ensembles. Like, I'm excited to see Homecoming. I hear it was really good.
It was great.
Oh, it was. Yeah. It was fantastic.
And I mean, obviously I love Guardians, but that's, I mean, I don't consider that an ensemble because they are a team. They are but like for me, like I loved Ant-Man. I'm excited for Ant-Man 2.
Ant-Man 2 was out of left field for me as something that I didn't expect to do. I thought I'm like, here's going to be the low point.
No,
and
see,
I loved it. I loved it.
And I'm gonna forget his name. I love the actor.
Pena.
No, the one that's Ant-Man.
No.
Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting it too.
Yeah, from Anchorman and things like that.
Rudd.
Yeah, Rudd.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Like all the Will Ferrell stuff. Like I think Rudd's great. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. And then, like, again, the standalones. Like, I liked the first Captain America movie. I also, and again, I know this isn't a popular opinion, I like all 3 Iron Man movies. Now, yeah, why am I bad with names tonight? Who plays Iron Man? Robert Downey Jr.
Tony Stark.
Thank you. Like, I liked Iron Man 3 for the reason that a lot of people didn't like Iron Man 3 because you didn't get much of the suit. It was mostly Downey as Stark, humanizing Tony Stark.
It was mostly Stark as Downey.
Well, yeah. But it was kind of like it was like self-reflecting in a lot of ways. You didn't have the big, and that was the cool thing about Iron Man 1 was a lot of it was him. A lot like Iron Man 1 was Tony Stark discovering Iron Man. Iron Man 2 was an action movie with Whiplash. Iron Man 3 was Tony Stark discovering Tony Stark.
I can see that.
And I thoroughly liked that. But again, I mean, for me, like, it's not quite as bad as Nick Cage, but I really like Robert Downey Jr. I will take his Sherlock Holmes over anything, and I know that's blasphemy for Sherlock Holmes fans. So, like, I don't know. It's Robert Downey Jr.
But you've avoided the question.
What was the question?
What do you think of Nicolas Cage being
the
Ghost Rider?
Yeah, Ghost Rider. That's right.
You've avoided it, which makes me think that you don't want to talk about it.
So I never saw the sequel.
Okay, that's fine. I haven't either.
Yeah. So, and again,
it was not good.
I've never read the comics.
I'm not surprised.
I like bad movies, and I like Nicolas Cage. I thought it was entertaining, on the same level that Punisher with Thomas Jane was entertaining. You know, it was probably bad, but I enjoyed it. I also like both the National Treasure movies, and I really hope 3 comes out. You put Nicolas Cage in something, and I'm going to enjoy it. With the exception of Wicker Man, that was a pile of shit. But, like, Next, I thought was great. There's a bunch of, like, straight to Netflix movies that he did because he's broke and owes his ex-wife a lot of money. Like, I like all the cheesy overacting stuff that he does. My favorite Nick Cage movie of all time is 8mm. That was actually I remember watching that. I mean, I wasn't a kid, but I was younger. And I remember, oddly enough, my mom recommended that I watch that movie because she thought it was something I would like, which I don't know what that says about me or what my mom's opinion of me is. And you had obviously Nicolas Cage, you had Joaquin Phoenix at a very young age as like the dude that worked in the porn store. You had, and I forget his name, but he was in Prison Break. The Russian guy, is he Russian? No, he's fuck. Anyway, and
the guy who's on Legends of Tomorrow now.
I don't know. I haven't seen Legends of Tomorrow. But you had him as.
Is that even the right fucking name for that show? I don't even know.
It's gonna bug me if I don't look it up. Not 8 Mile, for fuck's sake. 8mm. Wow, that was 99 that came out. That was the same year as Peter Stormare. Peter Stormare.
Oh yeah.
So he played Dino something. He's in
American Gods.
Oh, is he? Yeah, he was in Prison Break too. But he played, maybe he's not. I don't think he's Russian. Anyway, whatever. He played like the big like porn king dude. But no, 8mm was great. I mean, it was very suspenseful, and I liked that movie. But no, again, back to the question. Ghost Rider, I enjoyed it. I know comic book fans hate it because, again, it doesn't follow the comics. But
as a comic book fan, I mean, have I read a ton of Ghost Rider? I've read stuff here and there. I mean, I can't tell you my favorite storyline, but the movie, to be honest, it was fun. It is seriously one of those things to where it is. I'd love to turn it on at any point in time, and it's something I can sit back and enjoy for just the sheer randomness and craziness of Nicolas Cage trying to be a superhero.
Well, it falls in line with the first generation of superhero movies that came out.
It does too.
When they were all right before they became super popular and kind of amazing.
Right.
And everything has to be intertwined, and you can't have a standalone movie anymore. Sort of.
Now, as for the comics, my favorite thing that Ghost Rider is in is the 2010 run of Thunderbolts. I don't know if you've read Thunderbolts, but it's your anti-hero team.
Yeah.
I'm
familiar with the story.
Right.
I mean, the premise.
That run was Deadpool, Red Punisher, Red Hulk, Elektra, Venom, and him. It was excellent.
That sounds interesting. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm going to have to check that out. 2010, you said?
Yeah, 2010 run. They would go on road trips, And, Deadpool never shuts up. So Castle would just blow his brains out for the car ride. It's great. I love that
That sounds entertaining. And even then, like going back.
Corey, Agent Venom.
I don't want to say liked, but I was entertained by Affleck's Daredevil movie. I know it was a pile of shit, and I know it was bad, but Colin Farrell as Bullseye was cool.
That was all right. My favorite thing about that was Favreau.
Yeah. And then you had Michael Clark Duncan as Kingpin. Was that one?
Yeah,
right?
and my favorite thing about that was his intro with the NERD song. That's all I need.
Yep.
The quick shot in on the building. You know?
But that being said, I love what they're doing with Daredevil with Netflix, and I like, and again, I can't think of names. Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin. I think he's great, and I don't think we saw much of him in season 2, if any of him in season 2.
Yeah, we saw a little.
Yeah. So, he was in the prison, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but they're not calling him Kingpin. He's Wilson Fisk. So I would love to see him, and maybe in Is it Defenders?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I would love to see him come out as Kingpin. I can't wait to see. Again, names Shane, Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to see his standalone Punisher series. Shane was one of my favorite Walking Dead characters.
Are you getting a feel for the kind of characters Nate likes?
I like villains.
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, Umbrella Corp, Empire. I've got Joker on my arm. Yeah, I like villains, so it's what I do. John Bernthal. Look, Ashley's on that one. I guess that's not surprising though. The Walking Dead girl over there. But
so like villains. You more DC or Marvel? I didn't catch that from listening to other stuff.
I go Batman and then Marvel.
I was hoping you were going to say you go both ways.
No, I go I like the Batman universe. I don't really like much else that DC has to offer. I don't care about Superman. I don't care about Wonder Woman.
Okay,
there's a lot you're missing out on if you get out of the mainstream, man. Constantine, amazing. Lobo, amazing.
Yeah.
But that being said, I'm a Marvel guy, so it doesn't matter.
Well, the thing I was going to say was I was going to be like, well, what do you think of, you know, a standalone Black Adam movie?
You're not going to get it, but they should make it.
I thought we were getting it.
You're going to get Shazam.
Right. We're getting Shazam, and isn't The Rock playing Black Adam?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he wants Black Adam to be sort of he's not the villain per se, which in the comics he kind of floats around as he kind of does what. Oh wait, I got a good one for Marvel then. Sorry, I'll get back to.
No, it's okay.
I'm having my mind go 5 different directions. So he isn't exactly a villain most of the time. Black Adam isn't, but I just was wondering what you thought of that character. But if you're not big into DC,
yeah, no, it's more Marvel.
Okay, so for Marvel, in your opinion, is Magneto a villain?
That depends on when you're reading the comics,
and it depends on what your, like where you stand. Like, it's, I mean.
If you want to go early Magneto when he's just the bad guy of the X-Men, yes.
Right.
But now that Magneto's character's been hashed out and you really get a sense of...
And he's a deeper character now.
Exactly.
So, not a villain. And also, like, you can almost break down that... And again, the majority of my comic book character knowledge stems from the movies. So, like, if you go with certain things in certain aspects, if you look at the X-Men and you look at Magneto versus Xavier... within the realm of the story they tell in most of the movies, it's almost their own civil war. Like, you know, the whole premise behind Civil War was you had a handful of them that wanted to stay masked and a handful of them that wanted to be their identities known because they needed to be regulated. There needed to be special rules for those with special abilities. It's very similar to like the whole... Again, I don't know where this holds in comic book lore, but as far as the movies, the whole, like, the Mutant Act, and they all need to be registered, and they all need to be numbered, and they all need to be identified, and, like, locator devices and things like that, and using X's machine for the sake of tracking and monitoring mutants.
You're killing me.
Is that not...
Mutant Registration Act, Cerebro. What else? You keep saying stuff, and I'll give you the actual titles.
I'll help.
No, but anyway, so that's it. So, I mean, it was just a matter of, like, at any given time, whether it was Magneto or whether it was Professor X, they were simply looking out for what they considered to be their people and what they thought was the best interest in their people.
That's why I wanted to ask that, because he has a counterpart over at DC I'll probably get to in a second. I think that they're both kind of in the same realm of what he wants to Magneto's goal is for, you know, mutants to be, you know, free and to be, you know, not persecuted.
Right.
Charles Xavier's goal is the exact same thing. They just both go about it drastically different.
Right.
The thing is, Magneto as a character doesn't see himself being a bad. He is not a bad guy in that situation. Right. He is doing what he thinks is right, and it makes his character more depth because of that.
Right.
Because he's trying to be he is the hero. He is truly the hero of his own story.
Right.
So
it's a good way to put it.
I just find that interesting.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it.
That is why he inevitably always ends up being the leader of the X-Men.
Yeah.
Right. Is that...
But...
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just trying to think. So, yeah, no, I don't know. I really wish... I mean,
Corey said it in the chat, which he read my mind, but I didn't want to take it there. But that's exactly what I had on my mind was Malcolm X and MLK. That's
who they were based on.
Right.
Yep. But going over to DC, and this is one of my favorite storylines that has ever been written, Jeff Johns' run on Green Lantern. Probably about 6 years ago, the Sinestro Corps War leading into Blackest Night. Amazing. I don't know how familiar you guys are with that.
Or you're listening.
Not at all.
I can't stand Green Lantern. Even though I can appreciate that story, I'm just not into it, man.
Oh, come on. He took a character that nobody really cared about, to be honest. Just nobody cared about Green Lantern, and turned him into like the central figure of DC and rebuilt like this whole amazing mythos and redefined so many villains and everything with that. But my thing is, the thing that got me really into that was I read Sinestro Corps. Sorry, I'm going on my just super geek out mode right now. I read Sinestro Corps Wars, and I loved it because the whole point of Sinestro Corps War was Sinestro got other, Yellow Lanterns. They're fueled by fear. they're able to, they basically go out and start killing Green Lanterns left and right and wage war on them. The problem is the Green Lanterns in their oath, their rings can't kill. They cannot kill. So you basically got a ton of Lanterns basically having to play defense against another team that's playing offense the whole time. And Sinestro is saying, the universe will be different after this. I'm going to change this because he thinks that the galaxy the universe needs to be ruled through fear, that you have to rule through fear, that there's no other way to do it because he's been a Green Lantern. He's like, it doesn't work. You guys have failed, all this stuff. And it goes through this whole thing, all these events happen. But then the Guardians go, we need to turn the tide. We're getting murdered out there. So what do? They allow the Green Lanterns to be able to kill. So they can start, fighting back, actually taking the offensive, going out, and, actually, yes, it is a little bender in front of Mjolnir back there. You need to go out and, fight and, take on these Yellow Lanterns head on. But the thing that gets it is by the end of it, they're talking to Sinestro. And he's sitting there and he's like, but I won. And they're like, no, you didn't. You got beat up. Your core's destroyed. What are you doing here? And he goes, the entire galaxy now fears you because you have the ability to kill. And it was just like reading that. I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. Like he basically won because he basically forced the Guardians to make the Green Lanterns now feared because they have the ability to kill.
That's a great story with a great twist.
And it was just great because I'm like,
now I don't have to read it.
That's like super villain, awesome writing, everything. Because I'm like, that's amazing because it was just written so well, and it's like it was great, and it led into just some other amazing stories. But that was just one of those moments where I'm like, the bad guy won in every way, shape, and form. He won.
It's nice when that happens because it doesn't happen that often.
And it's awesome when it happens, and it's this really twisted, messed up thing.
Mainstream stuff.
Too.
I will point you to our president.
Okay, fair enough. In mainstream media, it doesn't happen. Bad guys win all the time. In reality, it doesn't happen that much. I mean, and even when it happens, like in a book, like they change it, like Inferno. I refuse to see the movie because of the way they changed the movie from the book. But we don't need to get into that. Really quick, so we are coming up on about an hour and a half mark. So we will kind of begin to. There's the bender. We will kind of begin to make our way to the landing
going
strip.
To slowly pull out.
Yeah. But I really quick. So you mentioned Green Lantern, so I want to ask a couple quick things about current, and if there's stuff that you are planning to or have talked about on your show, then you can just kind of give a teaser and get people to tune there. How do you feel about Domino's casting?
I like it.
Okay.
I have nothing against it.
I like that
Domino's never been like a defining character for me as like I had like the perfect image of who they need to cast.
I like that they flipped the diamond on her eye.
That actually is really cool. That actually is really cool.
The shape, whatever
really
it is.
Like that.
Yeah.
Well, they basically did like a negative of her makeup,
Right.
Yeah.
So it was black and white. Now it's opposite, which I don't care about any of that as long as they get the character right. Because you're dealing with some of my favorite characters. Cable, Deadpool, Domino, X-Force is my favorite outside of Guardians. Which, by the way, we didn't really talk about Guardians, but that was one of my favorite comics way before the movie. So I'm so happy that movie was awesome.
I really enjoy the fact that movie, in my opinion, was a middle finger to DC.
Yeah.
They were like, you can't get a Superman movie right. We're gonna make a movie about a talking tree and a raccoon,
and we're gonna blow you out of the water.
And then, as much as I say I enjoyed it, and I did, like Suicide Squad was DC's attempt to do a Guardians and failed miserably.
Yep.
So
I will agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, you had it in the '80s music, you had it in the ensemble cast, you had your goofy and your serious and your ridiculous. They just tried and they failed miserably. Yep. And then the second question was, I assume you've seen the Justice League trailer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who do you think Alfred was talking to? Because there's rumors of it being like the thought is it's not Superman because that's too easy.
We just went over this.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Actually. Me and Ellie discussed this, and I'm a better theorizer than she is on some stuff.
Okay.
And I normally try to put out, a few theories here and there to stuff to see, what happens, months later on.
Sure.
Be like, oh yeah, I said this.
You can delete the other ones and be like, look, I called it.
I'll somehow magically the episode will be re-edited somehow. I'm joking, but so the going theory, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I get anyone missed, is that Superman's probably the top one,
right?
But it could also be Shazam.
Okay.
Green Lantern.
That's where I was going with it.
Martian Manhunter.
That would be cool. Now, that would be the one thing that would get me to see what is likely to be a bad movie.
I have not seen that trailer yet. I've purposely not watched it. Now, do you think we're going to get Martian Manhunter in that movie or Wonder Woman 2?
I would love Martian Manhunter to be in a movie. I think he is an underrated character. I think he definitely needs to be up there in the pantheon with the other characters. As much as okay, I'm going to say it's Superman because if you look, you can kind of see a reddish hue to him. But even though he's supposed to be in the black suit when he comes back.
Right.
So that's why I'm like, maybe it's Shazam, but I highly doubt it. He's such a random character that not a lot of people would know much about at just seeing him. So that's the only reason I'm kind of a little bit like, I know who he is, but other people might not.
Right.
Now, but again, do you think if we got it there, or would we get it in Wonder Woman 2?
Get Shazam and Wonder Woman 2?
No, Martian Manhunter.
Oh. I don't know where Martian Manhunter would fit in, to be honest, if we didn't get him now. The only thing he has no horse in this race at the moment.
Right.
Like if they had attacked Mars first, and let's say Apocalypse attacked Mars, and that's why he had to come to Earth, that would make sense for him to be there for that. But I'd love to be Green Lantern. I do think that there's an unrevealed member of the Justice League that we haven't seen yet.
Well,
I do think one of the Lanterns.
That's the prevailing theory that I've been reading is that it's Green Lantern, because if you listen to Steppenwolf in the trailer, he says
no Kryptonians, no lanterns.
Mm-hmm. And there's a reason, like, despite whether or not you agree with their movie making ability, trailers are made for a reason. And there are certain things that are left in there to be hints for a reason. And you have your Kryptonians, obviously, or I should say, well, I mean, Superman's dead. So like you don't have your Kryptonian. So what's left? A lantern. Mm-hmm. And of all the characters that have been made abysmally on comic book movies, you had Deadpool, who was utterly destroyed in X-Men Origins.
Yes.
You had Batman, who was destroyed by Schumacher. Was Schumacher, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, every character has had its bad moments. And then obviously you have Reynolds' Green Lantern. So it is
I actually had an interesting opinion when I left the movie.
It was the one character. It's the one character in modern comic book movie history that was made poorly and has not been redeemed.
Correct.
So to see him now, that being said, so let's go with Lantern. Let's say it's him. Who plays him?
Okay. There's the other problem of you have like 5 lanterns on Earth to choose from. I think they want to steer possibly away from Hal.
Yeah, no Hal. Give us John Stewart.
I want Hal, though. I would love Hal because I'm like, he's a great character. But here's the thing. Who's the next one that everyone's probably the most familiar with?
John
Stewart.
Yeah.
Because of the cartoon. So why not do John Stewart? Because they are supposed to be doing sort of a buddy cop movie.
Right.
With the Lantern. So introduce John there and then have Hal introduced later. Even though I'd love Guy Gardner at one point to be in a movie because why not?
Right.
But, these are feeble dreams of a madman I speak of.
So in that case, who do you think you'd get for John Stewart?
There's been somebody recently that's been campaigning for it, and I can't remember his name.
Right.
I cannot remember it, but he's like he's had images done up of him.
Really?
As let me see.
What about what Corey just said in the chat? What if they start with Sinestro and then he gets turned into a villain?
That might explain the red, because his skin's kind of an orangish red.
Right.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That would be cool. That would be really cool. What do you think? Well, you're looking that up, just kind of a passing opinion. So obviously we had Batman v Superman, which, I mean, it didn't financially bomb, but not a lot of people liked it, and Martha sucks. And then you obviously have Wonder Woman that is just taking the reins right now completely. So they're riding that train with the trailer, and unlike Batman, who, again, not a big DC guy, but is it not like the Batman Superman combo that is kind of the leaders of the Justice League? So you've got Superman dead, but basically in the trailer, you've got Wonder Woman center stage. Wonder Woman is taking the charge in the trailer. So do you think that they're going to kind of have her in that leadership role because, breaking the fourth wall, like in reality, like it's her movie that is the most successful and the most highly rated. Like, are they kind of giving her front and center in Justice League?
It's cash grab, it's all marketing.
Right.
Oh my God, we finally got one. A movie that doesn't suck.
Yeah, they nailed it. Let's see if they can do it twice.
Now, I haven't seen that movie yet, so I don't know if it doesn't suck relatively or if it's actually great.
I expect that it's probably as good as people say it is. Again, don't care about Wonder Woman as a character. I'll probably end up picking it up.
Tyrese Gibson.
I'm not down with that. Just do Idris Elba.
I was gonna say Idris Elba, but I just saw
Dark Tower.
Dark Tower.
What about that's just fresh in my mind. Plus, he's kind of signed on with Marvel at the moment.
What about Michael B. Jordan?
I'm over that guy.
No, wait, he signed on with Marvel too, isn't he?
What's he doing?
He was in Fantastic Four, and now he's
but that's
gonna be in Black Panther.
Yeah.
Oh, is he gonna be? Who's he playing in Black Panther?
No idea.
A character? I don't know off the top of my head who.
That is the most informative.
Again, Marvel wins. And Corey, by the way, you're right. The Holy Trinity.
Was Idris Elba in the Ghost Rider sequel? That's true. No. Corey's saying he was. He was in the Ghost Rider sequel.
He was?
Apparently.
Well, I don't remember that at all.
I never saw the Ghost Rider sequel, so there you go.
So, yeah. All right, cool. Well,
but your question about her moving forward as the leader, her and Batman, I can see that. I can see it kind of being a team up with the both of them. I just hope they don't have that, moment where they don't see eye to eye, and it's like, oh no, the all is lost moment.
Now it's Batman versus Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Oh no,
I'm Batman. I'm gonna fight
her
everybody.
mom's name isn't Martha. What are they ever to do? But yeah, no. I mean, we'll see. Do you think we get Superman back in Justice League, or do you think they wait for the next one?
Yeah.
You think
so?
So?
He will be back in that in some form or another.
Right.
I feel bad for Henry Cavill, man. He's great, and yet he just can't catch a break.
Okay, so Michael B. Jordan plays Eric Killmonger in Black Panther.
There you go.
Thank you, Rick Fu.
I knew he was in it. I just could not remember who.
Right. Cool. Well, that puts us at about an hour and a half mark, so we'll get ready to wrap this up here. Why don't you give a quick rundown of where people can find your show, and I mean, obviously podcatchers, but things like that, where they can contact you, social media stuff, things like that.
On the internet? No, I'm joking. You can find
he plays a character.
Of course, every most of the podcatchers, the main ones, and it is spelled, by the way, just to point this out, it is spelled Zeng. Zeng This. And you can, of course, find us on Twitter. Same thing. Instagram, if you want to check that out, it is Zeng This Podcast. And you can find us basically just search Zeng This on the internet.
Cool. Well, as for Mind of a Geek, you can catch this show live every Friday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time at twitch.tv/InkedGeekStudios. A big thank you to our very active chat room this evening. You guys totally rock. We appreciate the input. And the name drops for whenever we all acted stupid. If you like this show, rate us on iTunes. iTunes ratings are awesome, and we appreciate it. We've got, I think, a couple that have left 5 stars, so that is very much appreciated. You guys completely rock. If you like this show and everything else that's presented at Inked Geek Studios, please consider going to patreon.com/IG Studios. And as one of our biggest fans, Annalisa, likes to say, give them $1. So yeah, every little bit helps go a long way. We've got some cool things up now that offer stickers. We're going to be doing patch Patreon rewards where you'll get like a custom patch every month. I think we're still in the process of doing something with like vinyl prints, things like that. So kind of get on board early and get over there and help support independent content. So Justin/Zeng/Zenger, man, it was a lot of fun, man. I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show.
Anytime, guys. Thank you very much for having me.
It was a blast. You come with a lot of knowledge, and I like that. I like the back and forth that we had. I like the Star Wars break in the beginning. That was cool.
Yeah, that was always Star Wars. I
kind of told myself when I was about to come in, I'm like, try to stay away from Star Wars since you've done so much Star Wars stuff recently. And I'm like, well, right out of the bat, let's do this.
Yeah, I mean, you used to do a Star Wars podcast, have the Imperial logo tattooed front and center, so it's kind of hard to. It's like subliminal messaging.
It is never enough Star Wars anyway.
No, but yeah. So everyone, if you enjoyed this, or even if you didn't enjoy it, check out Zeng This. I have listened to a couple episodes before you came on, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So,
if you don't mind, what episodes did you listen to?
I listened to so many, but the most recent two. Hold on, let me go check my list.
You caught him in a lie. Ha!
No, I put him on the spot.
No, it was. Let me go back. It was okay. So the episode 40, it would have been 40 and 41, because 41. the next unplayed I have is 42.
42 would of course be the, as I said earlier.
So it was the Spider-Man Homecoming review, and it was the Harry Potter 20th anniversary episode.
Harry Potter 20th anniversary one was really fun to do.
I enjoyed it.
Actually, the guy we had on is the artist for this book, which just came out. It is Doc Unknown.
Very cool.
Wow.
So Ryan Cody, shout out to you real quick. Having him on was awesome. And I'm sure he'll be back on again later when we probably are going to do Harry Potter.
Because why not, right?
But I'll tell you when to recommend to you and your fans real quick.
Okay.
Since you mentioned you're into sci-fi and you're really into fantasy.
Yeah.
Episode 44, top 10 sci-fi/fantasy war movies.
There we go. Yeah.
It is a response to another podcaster's list, and we get them on to discuss it.
No, that was the one that you shouted out earlier, right? The Down the Hall.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's with Chet and Rodney.
Very
yes.
cool.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
I will have to check that out. That is so I have the Hitchhiker's Guide one next.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for listening. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. Nate's going to say Warcraft. Yeah, Warcraft. I love my Warcraft. Shut up, Corey. I'm kidding, and I appreciate the great interview comment. That's awesome. I appreciate that a lot. So again, check out Zeng This and at Zeng This on Twitter. And is it just recorded, or do you do it live?
At the moment, it's just recorded. I do some editing because, but
well, there you go.
We're working on possibly doing some live stuff.
Live is fun, and as you see here, like the chat.
This was a lot of fun to do, to see the live responses and everything.
Yeah, the chat room is cool. It's nice, and it's great when you have that "oh shit, what was their name" moment, like we did several times tonight. No, it's cool, and then live to hard drive saves the editing time.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, thank you very much, everyone. Make sure you check out his show. This conversation was a lot of fun. So I have a feeling the regulars and even the people that weren't regulars still stuck around and hung out and seemed to enjoy the show. So
awesome.
Thank you again to the live chat room. Zeng, thank you again for coming on. For Zeng, for Brandon, for myself, and for the rest of Inked Geek Studios, thank you all very much for listening, and we will see you guys next week. You've been listening to an Inked Geek Studios podcast. For this and other great shows, go to inkedgeekstudios.com.